Yes, Pretzelman 945 here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, what I thought would be a fun idea is, because I've seen a lot of anime at this point. I've seen around 90 anime, which if you wouldn't call that a lot, then, oh boy, I envy the amount of anime that you must have seen if you don't think that's a lot. Obviously, I know people that have seen way more than me, but I think 90 is a lot. So what I thought I would do is make a anime tropes tier list. Basically two different ones to kind of like get some variety in there. And any repeated ones I'll just like not rank again. Um, okay. So taking off weight or limiter. Hmm. So this is a very, very shonen trope. Like extremely shonen trope. Um, uh, and I think it's nothing crazy, but I think it's B tier because I think when it's used well, which most of the time it is, I think it can be a pretty hype moment. Like whenever Goku took off like I don't know, weighted clothing in Dragon Ball. It was always like kind of hype, like, ooh, he's about to destroy the enemy. Ooh. Um, Power friendship. Hmm. So I don't think that this isn't the worst trope, but I don't think it's that good because I think that um it's pretty generic, all things considered. Like, I don't think it is a very interesting trope, and I think it's kind of just a cop out um for like it just kind of feels like a cop out for a less interesting ending a lot of times, or just like plot armoring things. Even though plot armor is its own thing that we'll get to later. What is that referring to? I tried to look some of these beforehand, but what is the inner demon trope? Okay, so it is having some sort of evil entity trapped inside them that gives them power. Um, hmm, so I'm not really thinking of this as like characters that have how do you say like I don't know, like either voices or like are haunted by tragic memories. Like, I don't really count that as a demon inside. I think of that as something a little bit different. So, taking this like the very literal definition, I would honestly put this up in A tier because I don't really think I've seen a bad example of this, and to me, it's generally just a pretty entertaining trope. Um, okay, pervert. So perverts are not like the absolute worst trope, but they're still going in F tier because like pervert characters beyond being like gross are just not interesting and often like the comedy around pervert characters is like never funny. Um, explaining power to enemy. Okay. Um, this is a very common one. So, I gotta think about this to be honest, because I'm not really sure what I think about this. Um, hmm. This is hard. Um, I wouldn't say like I can't really. Does this get overused too much? Yeah, probably. But I can't bring myself to hate it, but I definitely do think it is like overdone a little bit. Put it in C tier. Villain groups? Villain groups are S tier. Villain groups are fantastic. Um, because villain groups often, in my opinion, just mean more interesting characters. So in that sense, it's like you're getting more bang for your buck. So I love villain groups. I think villain groups are generally like a fantastic idea in everything that I've seen a villain group in. Um, Fight thirsty character. Okay, so the issue I take with this one is the fact that it is very, I guess, broad, um, like with the name specifically, because often if it's a good go, then and it has like in-depth characters that are at least decently nuanced, then even characters that are like the most fight thirsty have more depth to them and are often more really compelling characters. Like examples I think of here are Vegeta, and the entire arc that he goes through, Kenpachi from Bleach, and the fact that he has a lot more depth to him that's explored in Thousand Year Blood War when it comes to his role and like figuring out why he needs to fight. Or, there's an example like Zoro who doesn't know anything but fighting and has to kind of slowly discover that for himself. So fight thirsty characters, um, in my opinion, honestly, in my opinion, this trope is only bad if the quality of writing is poor. Because I think that a lot of fight thirsty characters, if they're done well, are almost always like more compelling characters than just being fight thirsty characters. So, because of the fact that I haven't really seen a lot of bad examples with this, kind of like the demons, I'll put this in A tier. Villain versus villain. So, this is not a very common one that I think of, but I do like it. Um, I think it can make for an interesting change and like an interesting switch up to the plot. I'm gonna put it in D tier. Okay, what is this? Sword slice after cut anime. What is this? What does this have to say? Ah, okay, okay, that's what this is. Okay, so what this basically is, as far as I could tell, and maybe I'm kind of gleaning the wrong definition from it. If I happen to be doing that, then just let me know in the comments, and I'll let you know what my opinion is on that specific thing if it turns out to be different. Um, but from what I'm gathering from this is like the thing where someone does an attack that looks a lot more damaging than it actually is, or like gets a sudden, or like the villain gets a sudden surprise attack that looks really bad, but then it's not actually that bad. Um, I think this trope certainly has its place, but me personally, I'm kind of middle of the road on it because I think that it can be cool, but it also is definitely a tad overused. Um, okay, genius characters. I think this is B tier. I think like genius characters are generally like pretty smart. Um, okay. Wow, that might be one of the stupidest things I've ever said on this channel. Genius characters are pretty smart. Yeah, yeah, genius characters. Oh my god. Holy moly. Okay. That moment definitely proves I am not a genius. Oh my god, I feel so dumb. Anyway, yeah, genius characters are pretty smart. Wow, mind blowing. Um, no, as I was trying to say, genius characters are can be a fun addition to the plot sometimes. Think they're overused that much, so I'm fine with putting genius character in B tier. Tragic backstory, possibly one of the most famous anime tropes, S tier. Um, Tragic backstories are, in my opinion, one of the things that make anime because there's very few animes that I've seen that don't have some form of a tragic backstory, and um I would say 99% of the time, tragic backstories work well to display, to help develop characters and further them along and give them depth. So, yeah, uh, tragic backstories are iconic, and I like them. Okay, this is an interesting one. It's very specific, and I didn't think this would be on here, but I'm glad it is. Because it's something I have a specific opinion on. School festival arts. I'm not really sure like what the common consensus is on school festival arcs, but me personally, I enjoy them. Um, I think that school festivals are I think my one negative with school festival arcs is I think they are overused in romance animes. And I think part of the fun of a really good school festival arc is being able to kind of like explore a lot of things and see a lot of things happen. But I feel like a lot of romance animes kind of use school festivals as a uh way to just push along more like more of the same character interactions between the two leads. But I think it's more positive than negative for me, so I'm gonna put school festival arcs in B tier. Okay, high school setting. This is hard to rank because it is extremely broad. Um, and honestly, I would say that um high school settings is another like thing that makes a lot of animes actually anime. Um, obviously there is a ton of animes that are not set in high school, but there's also a ton that are. And you know, I don't hate it. Like I think it's honestly one of like tragic backstories, but not quite to the same level. It's a very iconic trope, and at least for me, I know some people might be very tired of it as a concept, but like I think it's just too broad to be negative against. I'm a high school setting in A tier. Exam R. Okay. So, uh, uh, so this to me has two different definitions. Because um, I think there is the shonen definition of a exam arc, and then there is the non-shonen definition of an exam arc, and um, which makes this one also hard to rank because I would say I quite enjoy shonen exam arcs a lot of the time. However, in a lot of shows that I've seen that are not like battle shonens, exam arcs typically feel extremely tacked on and very distracting from the plot. Um so I think I'm gonna settle for exam arcs being a C because I really like them in some animes, but I also quite dislike them in others. So I think I've got to go in the middle. All right, plot armor. Uh, um, this is so broad and difficult to rank. Um, uh, hmm. Me, I think I'm gonna go B tier because plot armor is like possibly the most bog standard, or one of the most bog standard tropes that you could see across all of fiction, not just anime. Um, so I think it's like in the mass generalization, plot armor is good, so it goes in B tier. These next two are easy. Incest character F tier because incest characters are just disgusting. Um, so nothing more I need to say on that. Incest characters are instant F tier. Now, fan service I think is my actual least favorite trope in all of anime. Because I think that it just like so what is the point? Like it's so distracting. It keeps away from the plot. Um it's so useless. That's my issue. It's just so freaking useless. Um yeah. I fucking hate fan service. Um okay. Oh boy. Older than they look. Okay. So this kind of like exam art has two different definitions for me because I think that with I'm gonna be honest, this is a D tier trope to me because I think it's boring. I really do. Like the thing with older than they look characters to me is the only interesting value that this provides is it kind of might make for one or two semi-interesting, like, oh, I didn't know that moment. But like, once you know, then, there might even be some interest or appeal with the character that is gone. And 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 that is like mostly referring to like, shonen type things or like action shows where I've predominantly seen those kinds of characters in not those kinds of shows, like in romances or slice of life shows or like isekais with lolly characters. It's like when it's that way, then the trope is very weird, and I'm not putting it in F tier because it truly is not as bad as like incest characters or fan service, but like I really do like this trope because it's either extremely weird or it's just really not interesting to me. Um, inner monologues, I'm gonna put in A tier. I think inner monologues, especially by villains, can be extremely entertaining when they're like monologuing their plans or when they're like internally revealing their thoughts. And the best kinds of internal monologues, in my opinion, um are the kinds that will allow for um v- a lot of character depth to be revealed, and you kind of get to know a character's emotions and feelings through what their inner thoughts are. Okay. The Prodigy. So, in my opinion, The Prodigy is just the worse and much less interesting version of the genius character, because um, prodigy characters are normally they're normally like genius characters anyway, but they have a bigger ego and they normally have a lot of power. Or if they're not that way, then they're the other stereotype where they are like suddenly gifted with power for no reason, and that's really the only depth of their character. I'm not a fan of Prodigy. That goes in deep here. Um, Flashback Before Death, in my opinion, is just the much less interesting version of a tragic backstory. It happens with a lot of mediocre and lesser scale villains. And it can be a little bit annoying, but I also don't completely hate it, so I'm gonna put it in C tier. This is very specific. Lifespan decreasing power. I do not have any opinions on that. That's going in C tier. Training arcs S tier. Very iconic shonen and anime trope in general. Um, yeah, I don't need to explain very much on that. Okay. Cinderace, possibly the most famous uh category of, if not characters in general, then definitely female characters in anime specifically. Um, I think Cinderace are B tier because I think Cinderace, in my opinion, are similar to genius characters in the sense that if being a tsundere is that character's only and defining character trait, then that character is pretty boring. And I think this is a big reason why I end up dropping toward Dora is because um Taiga was just like not a particularly interesting character to me beyond the tsundere character personality. Whereas a character like Rin Kosaka from the Fate series or Makise from Steins Gate, those characters are examples of interesting tsunderes, in my opinion, because they have the funny, kind of cute, tsundere part of their personality, or like Asuna from SAO is another example. They have that fun, uh, charming part of their personality, but then they also have a lot more depth to them. Like, you know, Rin Tosaka, for example, is like has a very complicated relationship with like having to deal with her father and like this pressure of being a fate servant and like protecting other people, um and a lot of other things, but like that in addition to the triggering, all in one package makes her an interesting character. The reason I'm not going A though is because the uninteresting do kind of bring it down. But for me, it's more positive than negative, so I'm gonna say it's B tier. I need to remind myself what Kudere is. Okay, so these are the outwardly calm, like emotionless, but has a soft, caring side. So I actually really like Kudere characters. I think Kudere characters are very interesting a lot of the time, and I think they often make for the best and most interesting kinds of romantic relationships. And I do specify Kudere girls. Kudere guys are much less interesting to me. And I would put like Kudere guys specifically in like D tier. But Kudere girls, I'm a big fan of because I think that personality trait is really interesting and it makes for great relationships. Oh boy, already 30 minutes. This is going to be a very long video. Oh boy. OP main character. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna put this right by plot armor, and my reasoning for this, although a little bit less general, is the exact same. Because I think that in general, OP characters actually I'm putting C tier. I'm putting C tier. Because I think it can be done really well. And OP characters can be interesting, but it's also can be quite an overused trope. Now, this next one is a word that I don't recognize. What is it thundering? Okay. So these are Guy Wyatt. Let's see. Okay. So, huh. A shy and withdrawn character who becomes affectionate and open around their love interest. Okay. So to me, whenever I see a yandere character, it's just like a less interesting version of a kudere character because it's the same idea of being quiet and emotionless, but I don't think it leads to has interesting relationships. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Dumb MC. I know a lot of people don't like this, and I know it's like a common criticism of some shonen protagonists like Tanjiro and Luffy. Me personally, um, I think this is the same case with like tsunderes and fight thirsty characters. Where I think whether Dumb MC is a good trope varies largely based on uh like the quality of the writing, I think. Like if a dumb MC is like that's the only part of their personality, then they are inherently much less interesting. But if they have some more depth to them, like a great example, in my opinion, of a dumb MC that's really good is Gone from Hunter x Hunter, because even before you get to the Cameron Ant arc, just has a fantastic personality. And then, when you get to that part, there's a lot of depth in there in exploring that rage that he goes through. Or another example that I like to use is Luffy, because Luffy is a very dumb MC. But what he does have is an extremely high, like, emotional intelligence. Um, so he's able to pick up on his crewmates' feelings, and he knows how to help his friends. Um, and like he has to be that way to make smart decisions as a captain. So, um, there is some more depth there beyond just being a dumb MC. So I think it's like Tsundere's and Genius characters where um it depends on the quality of the show, um, and the quality of writing, whether that's a good trope or not. Because if it has more depth than just that, then they can be good characters. But if not, then they're not as interesting. Power ups, S tier, insta hype. I don't think that needs much explanation. Yandere's, I am not a fan of. Um, personally, these are the kinds of characters that I am definitely the least attracted to, like waifu wise, but also they weird me out. And even if they're not like completely insane yanderes, like I still think yandere as a term applies to like obsessive characters like Zero Two, for example, um, who are just like weirdly clingy and obsessive, and not only is it off-putting and weird, but it loses interest for me very fast. I'm not a fan of yandere characters. Um, okay. Tournament arcs, S tier. I don't think that needs much explanation. They're hype and they're amazing. Now, this one is probably my favorite trope in all of anime. OP old man. OP old characters are in like 99% of cases, I would say, either my absolute favorite character or probably in my top 5 or top 10 favorite characters because um OP characters to me just they make this role that is extremely entertaining, and a lot of them don't really have that much depth to them, but I don't care because they're fun and they're hype and they often deliver badass and wise ass lines at the same time. I absolutely love old ass characters, and OP Old Man, that's probably my favorite anime trope of all time, if not my favorite trope in all fiction. I absolutely fucking love old man characters. Harems, I am not a fan of. Though that gets a D tier for me because I think harems are very boring. Um, Hero villain team ups, I think generally can be very entertaining. They're not very common, which generally makes them all the more exciting. And I think the hero villain team ups can often be used in like a variety of contexts that also makes them interesting. Named attacks are one of the biggest staples in all of anime, but especially shonen. They're a lot of fun. They go in A tier. Um, Battle of Wits, extremely entertaining. Generally like a very fun one, just like tournament ups or power ups and such. Um, okay. Isekai. So I'm gonna put this in B tier because I know it's a very overused and overclowned on trope, but like personally, because I avoid it and I don't really like want to put myself through it. I'm sure if I actually did watch all those trash isekais that are out there, then my opinion would definitely be negative. But this is going off what I've seen. I've only seen a few isekais. But uh um I think that they make for an interesting uh I don't I think it's an interesting idea and I like it. And me personally, the isekais that I've seen, I've enjoyed most of them. Uh, so yeah, I'm not really tired of this trope yet. I get to be here. All right, how long we at from that one tier list? 40 minutes. That's fantastic. There should be a little bit less uh in this list, I think, and some of these are repeats. So we can skip these. Okay. Mysterious transfer student. This is very specific. I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't think I've seen enough anime with this as a common enough trope to have an opinion on it necessarily. Oh boy, cliffhanger endings. This can go up and down and up and down. I'm thinking, and from what I can remember, it's mostly positive. Um, I'm oops. I go ahead and make a rank a row below this, like four already ranked. Okay. Uh, cliffhanger ending. Hmm, kind of getting all these out of there. Okay. Um, I guess that one as well. Okay, so cliffhanger endings. I feel like I've seen more positive examples than negative. I'm gonna put it in solid idea. Um, look this up beforehand, and Nakama is like kind of hard to define. Um, because I know I don't know. I don't really think of it as it's not the same as power of friendship because that's like a separate thing on this list. So I honestly don't remember what it was like saying. A group of allies or comrades who form a strong bond, often characterized, but even though this. So I mean, I don't. It's hard to rank because it's like a very generic like name and idea for rope. But I'm gonna say that I like it. Ooh boy. Okay, beach episodes. I think beach episodes are generally a great. In fact, I'm gonna actually put this up to I love this trope. I think um uh beach episodes are a fantastic idea that often if nothing else provides a bit of respite from the plot. Or if you're a really good show, like Avatar, is the first one that comes to mind for me, then each episodes are a amazing way to really dive into specific characters and their relationships deeper in a very relaxed setting. And Hot Springs are just beach episodes, but not as in depth. They're still the same fun idea. Great addition. Now, I don't think I've seen a single anime where any character has said "ara ara," so I'm just gonna put that with Mysterious Transfer Student for I don't have an opinion on it. Um, the comic relief. It was hard to rank because it's so general, kind of like plot armor, but I'm gonna say B tier because I've seen more positive examples that I can think of. I also already ranked that one. Okay, the femme fatale. So femme fatale characters are very rare. And that's why I think they're a great addition because they are rare and when they are done, um, when they are not common, but when they are included, they are like generally done extremely well. Um, love at first sight, it's mid. I think you can do a little bit more interesting ideas, but it's also not like the worst thing. Okay. This is kind of referring to romance animes. I don't like this. I don't. It's not trash. It's not. But I'm not a fan. Because not only is it extremely overused, but think it just doesn't make for interesting characters. Like I think it's a lazy idea in place of so many more potentially interesting opportunities or ideas. I'm just looking this up because I want to make sure I know what it is. Ah, okay, okay, right, right. Um, hmm. So I think the Mary Sue character is probably like a less interesting version of like a dumb MC because they probably won't be as in depth. Uh and this one isn't really as dependent on the writing quality for me. It's a pretty consistent one. It's mid. I really should have looked more of these up. Uh, hmm. Okay. So it seems to me like a lot of people probably don't like this. Is just my guess based on what I read from the description. Put in C tier because I have not seen that many animes at all that really have uh this idea. Like I haven't seen it that commonly. I don't know if it's a more common thing in more trashy shows, but I haven't really seen it that much. Um, fake out death. Oh boy. Okay. Um. Oh god, I'm so mixed on this. So I think fake out deaths a lot of the time can be really annoying. I do think there are some examples where fake out deaths are done well. And in fact, I would definitely say disagreement with a lot of One Piece haters, but um the fact that characters don't die, that is a strength of One Piece. One Piece is one of those exceptions, I think, where fake out deaths work well a lot of the time. And I don't mind at all that Oda doesn't kill off characters constantly because that in itself can have negative consequences if you do that too much. That can also be a bad trope. But like in general, I've seen more negative experiences than positive ones, and it most definitely is an extremely overused trope. Um, Reverse harems are crap. Um, because reverse harems, like, I'm gonna talk about this more when I get to my seasonal anime video, like covering the anime I watched this season, which will be coming out sometime next week, probably after the actually no, I'm gonna do it sometime this week, I think, probably near the end of this week. Is when I'm gonna do that video because a lot of the shows that have 12 episodes could be wrapping up this week. Like between uh to get like tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. But I say all that because I will talk about this more in the video, but a show that I was watching called Anyway I'm Falling in Love with You was a reverse harem. I didn't really know that at the time, and I thought it was just like a romance anime. And I don't know, maybe some like other reverse harems are like more trashy and kind of more entertaining in that aspect because maybe more stuff happens, but like literally nothing happened in that show, and I watched like 6 episodes of it. And like I said, I'll talk about it more in my seasonal anime video, but like that alone, like um, even the idea of like trashy shows reverse harems just does not sound interesting to me at all. Crap. Transformation sequence is basically the same as a power. Rival characters, I mean, like, I don't think that needs much explanation. Um, okay, so I had to look this up before the video, because I wasn't exactly sure, what it meant necessarily, but basically, it's the idea that I think it mostly probably pertains to like romance animes or maybe extreme like shonen rivalries or something like that. But I think it's mostly romance animes that this applies to, where like characters by fate are destined to like be together or um constantly be or like not be able to be away from each other. Um I think if this is used in a normal romance anime, then it's a bad idea because in a normal romance anime, it's a ridiculous idea. Um, but if it's not used in romance animes, it can sometimes be pretty good if it's like a particular kind of dramatic fantasy or dramatic sci-fi that happens to have that kind of element in it. Like Steins Gate as an example, it does sound kind of corny, but you could kind of make the argument that like Okabe and Maki say were kind of like maybe destined to be together across time. Um, Maybe I don't know. Even that coming out of my mouth just kind of seems like a pretty better. I'm going to put this in D tier because I think it's very overused. Um, hmm. Okay, I'm gonna be totally honest. I don't really know what the difference is between a goofball and a comic relief character, so it's gonna go in C tier. Um, redemption arcs. I think redemption arcs are a great addition because I think they're often a really fun um part of a character's development. Um, time skips, solid idea. I like time skips. I think they're fun. Filler episodes, I'm not gonna put it in F tier, but filler episodes are generally boring and are like kind of feel like wastes as concepts, I guess. Um, Nosebleed's F tier for a lot of the same reasons that I said about like pervert characters and such. It's just disgusting and it's very boring and not funny at all. But yeah, that is this tier list and also the other one that I completed. I feel like I actually managed to cover a pretty wide range of anime tropes here, including some I didn't really expect to see, and I feel like I got to give pretty unique opinions on those ones that I hadn't really thought about before. Um, but yeah, how long was this video? Oh my goodness, 56 minutes. That's pretty long. Um, well, if you managed to stick around for the entire video, then thank you very much for doing so. And, thank you for watching in general. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if there are any anime tropes I happen to miss here, and I will let you know what my opinion is in a reply to your comment. Um, but yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.